Hello and welcome to Crystal Heart Radio. My name is Caroline Crystal Heart, founder of Crystal Heart Radio, and welcome back. And thank you for joining me here on Crystal Heart Radio. Tonight, I'd like to talk about something many people have been mentioning recently, and that's the feeling that the energy around us seems to be shifting. So now, whatever your personal beliefs are, many of us experience periods where life feels a little more intense. You might feel more emotional than usual, find yourself reflecting on old memories, questioning the direction you're taking, or simply feeling like you're ready for a change. For me, these periods are often an invitation to slow down, and instead of constantly asking what's happening to me, perhaps we need to ask, what is life asking me right now? And I think sometimes in these times, it's just good to just take a step back, rebalance and reground yourself when you're feeling a little unsettled. And sometimes when we are in an opportunity where we're about to grow, it may not arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly, asking us to let go of habits, beliefs, or situations that no longer serve us. So if you are feeling unsettled, you're certainly not alone. And that brings me to something that I believe incredibly important, which is grounding. In today's world, we're constantly connected: phones, social media, news, work, notifications. Our minds rarely get a chance to rest. And before we know it, we become disconnected from ourselves. Grounding is complicated. In fact, some of the simplest practices are often the most powerful. It could be taking your shoes off and standing on the grass for a few minutes. That always works for me. Or it just could be sitting quietly with a cup of tea or coffee, just without looking at your phone. And sometimes I think it is really good to switch off from the outside world and just give yourself 5 minutes of peace. 5 minutes of peace that's actually time for you. So I'm going to be saying that we should be sitting here quietly. So I'm going to just ask to take a deep breath in. Slowly notice the rhythm of your breathing. It could be spending time in nature, listening to birdsong, watching the trees move in the breeze, or feeling the warmth of the sun on your face. It could be spending time listening to birdsong, watching the trees move in the breeze, and obviously that old favourite, if you do get a chance to go down to the beach and be there just waiting, just listening to the sea rolling in. So grounding reminds us that whatever is happening around us, we always have a place we can return to. And that's the present moment. And one exercise that I would love you to try is just take a slow, deep breath in and a slow, deep breath out. And now imagine roots gently growing from the soles of your feet, traveling deep into the earth, anchoring you with strength, stability, and calm. With every breath, allow any tension to flow down through those roots. And imagine drawing back a sense of peace, balance, and confidence. There is no rush, there is no pressure, and you are just quietly in the moment. And perhaps that's the greatest gift we can give ourselves today. Not trying to control everything, but allowing ourselves a few moments to simply be. I'd love to know what helps you feel grounded. Is it the sea, gardening, meditation, yoga, music, spending time with a loved one? If you'd like to share your thoughts, or if you'd like a reading, or simply a chat, the lines are open. And I would love to hear from you. You're listening to Crystal Heart Radio, where we come together to inspire, connect, and support one another, one conversation at a time. So now I am going to talk about Crystal Heart Radio because it is new. So my experiences, as you know, I'm Caroline Crystal Hart. I'm part of the former UK-US Psychic Tag Team Connect Across the Pond on Blog Talk Radio. And for all those out there that Blog Talk Radio was a favourite, then you also know that this is a place to be for spiritual guidance. So I'll just talk about Crystal Heart Radio. For any psychic or medium or channel or healer, it is a spiritual platform designed for spiritual discussions, spiritual live shows. We can talk about healing, we can talk about meditation, we can talk about channeling, and any other topic that you wish in relation to the spiritual aspect. Also, as you know, it is a live call-in show. So with that, anyone can pick up the phone and talk to me whilst I'm doing this show any of the time. So, and the other thing that I think is really great is obviously, you know, you can come talk to a psychic or healer on our show. The app is very mobile friendly, so you don't have to be sitting at a laptop to ensure that you can listen in. You can listen in with your earbuds in on your phone, which makes life a lot easier. We aren't on Google Play Store, nor are we on Apple, but we are a PWA app. So if you actually go into Crystal Heart Radio on Google search, it will download on your phone. So it's just to make you aware of that. It's not that we're not just a pure web-based app. We do have a web app as well. So, but it has some absolutely great features. So from a host point of view, I can sit here and I can present a show. You can see me either in video or in audio. There is that choice. Callers can call in at any point, as I said, by just tuning into the show and obviously asking questions like everybody did on Blog Talk Radio and previous to that Podbean Live. So, and both of those platforms have closed that live call-in facility, which is why Crystal Heart Radio was actually born. Having been a live call-in podcaster for 12 years, I decided that it was something that was necessary. And it also gives a lot of psychics a home, in my view. You know, we have a fantastic spiritual community. We're mixing with like-minded people in a like-minded space where our beliefs are our beliefs. But also on top of that, for any host that comes on board, you have the reason why I designed the platform the way I did is it's great to have a live call-in show, and I love doing that on Blog Talk Radio for many, many years. But also there was quite a few subscriptions involved in the sense that, you know, I'd be giving my subscription to Blog Talk. Then I would be paying for another subscription over here to say, put a donation link in. Then on top of that, I'd also be paying over here for something else. So when presenting a show, it's very much, well, find me on Crystal Heart Psychics, which you can still find me on Crystal Heart Psychics. And it was also, but here's my donation link just in case. So what Crystal Heart Radio actually does is there is a donations panel for listeners where they can directly donate to the show. That goes directly to the host wallet. It is split with platform costs, obviously. But also, if someone calls into the show and there's only a few minutes reading, because this is a showcase really, then what we do next is we can say, well, I'm going to be logging on shortly. And that means that I will come off this show shortly and I will be available for private sessions. So what that means is if I'm available and instantly bookable, that's absolutely fine. I can be booked instantly. If I'm not available, what you can do is click into the reader profile. I will have put scheduled times down when I will be available as a psychic reader. So with that, if you wanted to speak to me, but I wasn't available for a day, then you could actually book my time for when I'm available or next online. And also from a client point of view, you would get an SMS and an email from a host point of view, that's exactly the same. And like I said, from a host point of view, we can do this from a laptop, but we can also do it from a mobile as well. So I do think we've got some fantastic facilities. The other thing within Crystal Heart Radio, we do have the workshop function. So we have some sister sites. So if you are a host and a reader on Crystal Heart Radio, you do appear on Crystal Heart Psychics. And Crystal Heart Psychics has been my business for 13 years. So the difference is now we're moving away from, we will still have a telephone line, but obviously the actual system we have here is more audio, video. So you will appear as a reader, as a video reader on Crystal Heart Psychics. Then on top of that, we have other websites, which is Crystal Heart Academy and Crystal Heart Mind. So Crystal Heart Academy is an AI assisted course writer. What it does do, it doesn't write everything for you. It suggests, however, you can edit. So you're in charge of what goes in. You can ask for assistance from AI, but you can also edit it yourself. And again, this goes for mind, which is meditation and hypnosis. You can ask meditation to suggest a script, or you can copy your own script in, or you can change it about to the script that you want it to be. Then you have a choice. You have a choice of 3 AI voices, one of them being mine, but also you have a choice of recording your own voice. So I think it's a very fantastic thing. And as again, we have Academy, which is you can develop your own courses. But what we do have in Crystal Heart Radio is the ability to hold workshops on those courses and for you to present them. So welcome to the Crystal Heart ecosystem. I hope you've enjoyed our little call today, and I would hope to see you back. I'm scheduled to be online every Monday between 9 and 10. So if you wish to join me, you know where I am. I probably will do more sessions, obviously, because we are launching Crystal Heart Radio, and it is really important to see how great, the platform is. It really is. From me personally, Caroline, the founder, I've actually poured no one else has written this. I've written this myself. I've poured my heart and soul into this platform because I truly believe it should be a place for spiritual practitioners to be, where, there is a proper booking system. And again, we started off, the design started actually as a podcast platform and a live calling platform because of losing the facilities of live calling elsewhere. It grew, and it grew because of, I've sat down and said, well, as a psychic and a healer, what would I want? And I do think there's a real importance of saying, well, actually, I'll just be available for private readings after the show. And then I can go and I can be live and take private calls. So it does stop having to do the, here's my link, find me here. And obviously for anyone that is calling in that want a more in-depth personal reading, it's very easy to book. So this is the beauty of Crystal Heart Radio. The other thing that we have, which is amazing, is the community, which obviously anyone on a subscription. So we have a free subscription, which really is just the basics. So listening to live shows. But also what we do have is we have a community member subscription, which is slightly more premium in the sense that you get more. So we have things like daily rituals, which get sent out, daily horoscopes. So we have a lot of really good things. So I do hope whoever's listening tonight, you do love Crystal Heart Radio, and I look forward to joining me in the future.